All right. The first thing we're gonna do is start with the pledge of allegiance. John, would you like to lead us today?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we can move on to roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board. We're starting the meeting at 6:02 tonight. If you would like to give public comment on today's agenda, please fill out one of the public comment forms in purple over there. And we will grab it. I didn't see anyone pick one up to begin with, but if you have public comment, you're welcome to bring it here. And we will start with roll call. Mr. Chair, Benjamin Johnson.
Present.
Kelly Orr.
Present.
Jared Souther.
Present.
John White.
Present.
Rebecca Flannery.
Present.
Victoria Luck. Absent at this time. Ernest Burdick. Larissa Bueni. Present. Kelsey Mano. Absent at this time. I need to read.
Alright.
I need to read.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we can move into public comment. Yes. So, Mr. Chair, our first item is public comment. Members of the public may hear, observe, and provide public comment virtually by registering through the following link, which can be found on reno.gov/meetings. It is https://links.reno.gov/3VUPN8. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the NAB agenda. The NAB may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you'll be afforded 3 minutes. If you are an attendee in Zoom and would like to make public comment, please use the raise your hand feature at this time. I do not believe, Mr. Chair, we have any registered public comment, but I will throw it out there to the room one more time before we get into it.
Give it 1 second, let me sit down. All righty, is there anyone who'd like to give public comment? Thank you. There are no comments. We'll move on to A3, which is approval for the agenda.
Mr. Chair, the only change to today's agenda is that we won't have a council liaison report.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for today and the changes?
Jared Souther, motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Can I get a second?
John White, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. All right, now we're gonna move on to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion for approval for the minutes, please?
Where's the meeting motion to approve?
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion approved. Okay, so no council liaison report, so we'll move on to A6, the staff liaison report.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. For tonight's staff liaison report, the first one that we have is the City of Reno engagement opportunity. The city clerk's office is inviting all boards and commission members to give feedback on our fee schedule before that's taken to council. So you can submit any comments or questions to Christy Smith. Her email is there. The fee schedule draft is like 45 pages long, so we didn't include it in your packet. I do have one copy over here available to the public, and we'll email it to you afterwards. But we thought we'd save a treat and not print that out. But that has all of the fees from everything to building, business licensing, park rentals, special event fees. So we encourage you to take a look at that and provide any feedback that you have before that goes to council. Board membership updates, as we were discussing earlier, there are still 2 NAB member vacancies and 2 alternate NAB member vacancies at this time for the Ward 4 NAB. We always recommend and encourage both board members and the public, if there are any champions in your community that you want to highlight here at the Neighborhood Advisory Board, we really encourage you to nominate someone today. It's a really simple application that you fill out some of the great things that they've done for the community, and so we can celebrate them here at the Neighborhood Advisory Board. We try to do that quarterly. I don't think that we have any submissions at this point for Ward 4, so keep a lookout for those heroes in the community who are doing great things. As always, please make sure to sign up for newsletters so you can stay engaged and connected and hear about all the opportunities that we have for public engagement at the City of Reno. There's everything here from development projects to the Neighborhood Advisory Board to special events, all kinds of different newsletters that you can sign up for. And if you think that you should be getting a newsletter and you haven't, let me know, because we might need to adjust your email address to make sure that you receive those appropriately. Some updates on council decisions on development projects. At the 3/12 council meeting, the council unanimously approved the CUP for the Oppidan Data Center here in Ward 4, and that will go in at North Virginia Street near Stead Boulevard. Reno Direct is a wonderful service for constituents who would like to report anything that you see around your neighborhood, whether it's a pothole or an abandoned vehicle. I encourage all of you to submit your request through there so we can route it to the appropriate department and make sure that you have a service request and we can update you accordingly. If you have an account registered with Reno Direct, it makes it really nice because you can receive those updates as we get information on your ticket. Upcoming meetings, the City of Reno Council will meet on 3/26 next week. City of Reno Planning Commission will meet on April 2nd, and the next Ward 4 NAB will be on April 17th. And that is our upcoming City of Reno meetings of note. And Mr. Chair, that is all I have for you.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions about any of that stuff on the board? I imagine probably not. Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to our first business item, which is gonna be the Reno Fire Department update. So here.
Good evening. On behalf of Chief Cochran, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come up here and speak. We have some exciting stuff happening in the fire department. We are starting tomorrow the airport merger. Oh, sorry, I should introduce myself probably. James Schmidt, I'm an acting battalion chief right now with the City Reno Fire Department. Normally I'm at Engine 10, which is actually near the Bonanza as an engine captain down there. As I was saying, so the airport merger, it goes live tomorrow. So we're going to be merging the airport fire and City Reno Fire Department. It's going to provide a lot of opportunity for cross-training and increasing our operational capability within the Reno Airport as well as up here at Stead. We're going to get quite a good opportunity for training all the new Reno Fire employees. So we also are doing the RPD main station demolition. That's starting April 1st. And what that's going to provide is an opportunity to build out the new main station there for the fire department in the future. Apparatus, we have 2 new brush trucks delivered recently. A new heavy rescue, that's a great new capability. Our old heavy rescue wasn't quite up to snuff, so this new one has amazing amount of tools and some really great capabilities that's going to be bringing to our region. We also have a new aerial on order. A new squad is being built and 2 new engines as well being built. We are continuing our single role paramedics. Up here in this district, we have Medic 9 when we're available to staff it, including today, is an ambulance that provides extra transport capability up here in this area. If there aren't any other questions,
That's all I have for a report.
Thank you very much. We're gonna open up questions to the board first. And then we're gonna just go down the line because I'm horrible with names. So do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, John?
Yeah, John White, do you have, what do you mean, heavy rescue, heavy lift?
Yeah, so Heavy Rescue provides some specialty rescue equipment. So confined space rescue, underground, obviously, trench rescue, special building collapse equipment. It's all designed with that urban search and rescue.
It's not like an articulated arm or special ladders or something like that?
It's actually just kind of like a giant toolbox.
Toolbox.
Yeah, it's just a giant toolbox. It's full of all sorts of different tools, drills, jackhammers, shoring equipment to help hold things up. It's an amazing amount of equipment that's actually on that vehicle.
Ernie Burdick. Question I have, with the expansion of the population up here in this area, I'm only aware of 2 firehouses we have. We got the one just down here next to the airport, and then we've got the other one way down by the golf course.
Yes, so the one that you're talking about here near the airport is Station 9. That's a Reno station. And then the other one you're talking about over near the golf course is Station 44. That's Truckee Meadows County Fire Station. But we are doing mutual aid, automatic aid districts up here so that, if whatever the closest resource comes in, we're able to sort that out and send the
So
closest
with
resource.
the merger of the airport fire department, and that's with the Reno Fire Department.
Correct.
So we'll have additional support from them with the area since it's growing so much, or they're planning to add another station somewhere?
I don't know of any additional stations being planned. It's mostly going to benefit the cross training. So airport fire crash rescue is kind of a specialized
Yes.
skill. And we're going to end up doing a lot of cross training for our normal structure fire department members, which will help up here with aircraft incidents that happen up here instead.
Yeah, okay.
And then I believe Engine 10, Station 10 is also part of Ward 4, which is down near the Bonanza.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any questions?
Jared Souther for the record, you shared that a new aerial and a couple of engines were also ordered. Are they replacing existing equipment?
Yeah. Yeah, those are all replacement equipment. So the older vehicles, the older engines or older squads that are timing out, they'll end up typically going to academy for training. They're not really great for being on the front line, so they'll go to training. We'll get a bunch more use out of them, and then we'll auction them off.
And then you spoke briefly about the paramedic program. Can you share just a little bit more about what's happening for the North Valleys that way?
Yeah, so the single role program, they're not firefighters, they're single role paramedics and they're single role advanced EMTs. And they ride on a Reno Fire badged ambulance. And when we have the available staffing, like we do today, we staff up that ambulance up here and they provide first response out of that station for medical emergencies. And they're also within the system for mutual aid transports back to hospitals with REMSA basically.
So
If needed.
in the last 2 years, they deployed it in Moana. And now there's another squad that's deployed here in the North Valleys or?
Yeah, so there's 2 permanent, I guess you would say, crews. So there's a crew at Station 2, which is on Sutro. And there's a permanent crew at Station 3 of single roles, which is on Moana. And then this one up here is situationally. So as we have the staffing for it, we staff it to send it.
Thank you.
Is none of our, Kelly is not on Zoom, is she?
No, I don't have any members on Zoom.
Okay.
at this
Well,
time.
all right, I think we're good for the board. Does anyone in the public want to ask any questions? Seeing none. All right. Thank you very much for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next business item is B2, which is the City of Reno Community Survey, which is presented by the staff, Reno City staff member.
There's a house. Pass it down. Thank you.
I think you'll have to time for us. Okay.
It might all be on, it might work. There's something like that.
I don't.
Who else?
Okay, I'll just give you a look. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Carissa Bradley. I'm the Strategic Initiatives Manager for the City of Reno. I'm really excited to be presenting to you all tonight about the 2025 Reno Community Survey. You might have gotten an email about it this morning, actually. This is when we sent out our first email, but I wanted to come and present to the neighborhood advisory boards and other community boards just to better help you all kind of know what we're trying to achieve in case anybody asks questions about the survey, kind of what its intent is. But first and foremost, this survey is a comprehensive kind of look at the city and the services that we provide as the government entity. This survey is kind of different from previous surveys you might have taken from the city. We usually do a little bit more topical, specific project based, et cetera. And we haven't done just a temperature check type survey since about 2017. So we wanted to reintroduce this concept of kind of big picture, how are we feeling? Do people still kind of enjoy these types of things? Or are we generally heading in the right direction? Yes, no, maybe. So that's sort of what this survey is intended to do. It's also just a tool for us to better understand the community's needs and priorities, as I mentioned. I love being around the fire department because they always have all these like loud. You think they have a call? Thank you. If you go to the next slide, please. So the survey, why your input matters. So the survey is going to be utilized for a couple of different things. So first and foremost, we are planning to update our citywide strategic plan this year. So this survey will be one of those sort of kind of gaining insights pieces to the strategic plan development. But it's also helpful for us as city leaders to kind of be able to prioritize different services, programs, and our resources as we go into the next few years. How are we doing? Are these where the community members want us to kind of move our resources or not? We're also doing a lot of outreach so that we can get a diverse group of stakeholders involved and making sure that a lot of different voices, all voices are heard through this effort. Next slide, please. So I've kind of hinted at that, what the questions are, but here's kind of the main three areas. So the first area is about how you as residents feel about Reno as a community. So these questions are regardless of how you feel about us as the city of Reno and our services, how do you feel about Reno just in general? Is it a good place to live? Is it a good place for you to retire, to buy a home? We kind of just want to see what people's perceptions are of the area. The next section is about our government services that we as the city of Reno do provide. So how do we feel about fire services? How do we feel about pavement quality in your neighborhood? Those types of things, the things that we're responsible for doing. And then the last section is what priorities matter most to residents. The section has about 10 areas. You can pick your top 3. And those areas are the ones that we tend to hear a lot from the community members to focus on and prioritize. But there's also an open response section. So if one of those does not cover or you want to expand upon, or you have more detailed feedback, that would be a good area for you to add that there. And then there's also, I'll mention there are some demographic questions, and we are asking those because we want to be able to do some subgroup analysis, see if there's any trends that are present in our community with regard to different income levels or gender or race or whatever. But they're not required questions to be answered, but they do help with our staff to be able to kind of analyze what's happening. Thank you. So what we're hoping to achieve. So we opened the survey in early March. Today was our first time that we sent it out via our listservs, and we saw a huge uptick in survey responses, which is amazing. Our goal for minimum is 1,500. I think we're going to crush that. When we checked today, we had over 1,000 responses already, which is really exciting as I see some hands. And anybody who does surveys knows that it's really difficult to get people to take surveys, so we're happy about this number. And statistically, we can do some good work there if we get 1,500. In the past, when we've done community surveys, vendors have quoted us like 600 would be, adequate for our region. And we took that number. We're like, no, we can get at least 1,500. So, and we're well on that track. The survey closes on April 30th, and we're planning to publish all the results to our community later this summer, once we've had time to kind of analyze the data, what exists. And then we're also presenting it during the City Council's strategic plan workshop, which will be later this summer. Next slide, please. So how to participate? It's on reno.gov/community survey. It's online. It should be about 10 to 15 minutes to take, depending on how much feedback you want to provide to us. It's available in 4 different languages: English, Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog. And all responses are completely anonymous. So if you wanted to do a paper survey, they're also available at City Hall, Evelyn Mount Community Center, Neal Road, Moana Pool, and the Reno Municipal Court. If you just want to do it that way. Next slide, please. And kind of the meat and potatoes of why I'm here is kind of helping get the word out. We want to amplify this to as many people as possible. And so you as neighborhood advisory boards and people who attend neighborhood advisory board meetings can really help champion this effort with us. So first, it'd be really helpful if everybody here could take the survey. Engaging with your family members, your coworkers, your, you name it, type of folks to take the survey as well. We also have a digital toolkit that's available on that same website. If you're like me and you're like, I don't know what I want to say on this social media post, but we have some pre-generated text and kind of the scope of it, what hashtags to use, that kind of thing, and graphics. So you can use that to help share it, and then follow us on social media for more updates. And then I plan to come back to this board once we do have the results and share kind of how things are going. And because we are gathering that demographic data, we'll also be able to kind of pull out some ward specific things. So if you're interested in like a Ward 4 type of report, encourage lots of people in Ward 4 to take the survey. The more responses, the better the data. Next slide, please. Okay. And that does it for my presentation. If anybody has questions or I can kind of expand on anything, please let me know.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to questions to the board. We're speaking about that one.
Kelly Orr, for the record, I took the survey this morning and I did like the survey. It gives you great opportunity to do inputs. Where I would like to see is a Ward 4 specific like data. That was one thing that was kind of confusing because some of the questions were generated for the city, but then not for our area. So I like that was something that's heard. Is this something that you guys are gonna try to do like every 2 years instead of every 10?
You're reading my mind. Yes, Carissa Bradley for the record. The goal would be, so I mentioned earlier, we did this similar type survey in 2017. I started at the city about a year and some change ago, and I was like, oh, we should really start doing that again. The goal would be to start doing this on a biannual basis, so every 2 years, see how we're doing. Maybe we want to make progress in some of these areas that maybe people are not as happy with us about. And also, to your point, tweaking those questions. What is really going to tease out the data that we need? So this is our pilot. And if you have really specific feedback on questions or anything, please let me know. I think feel free to email me. Okay. And we can nerd out about survey questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ernie. Question I have is, Ward 4, are you able to separate answers coming in from the survey according to which ward they are in?
Yeah, Carissa Bradley for the record. So at the very end of the survey, there is a demographics and those types of questions. So one of the questions is, what ward do you live in? And you'll be able to select Ward 4. And I will caveat that all of the questions have a refuse to answer, do not know option, because some people might not feel comfortable with having that information. So it all depends on how many people check yes on that.
Okay.
But yes, there is an option. And I do plan to kind of parcel down by ward as well. Thank you.
Oh, that's I have not taken the survey yet, but how, I know the words are very confusing, so how would an individual that is taking it know what word to click? Is there like a map? Like if you put in your address, this is
Yeah, Carissa Bradley for the record. So we did kind of think about that too, because if you're not thinking about what the ward boundaries are, you can think, I have a best friend who lives 20 feet from the city of Reno boundary, but she's actually in unincorporated Washoe County, right? So it's very confusing in our region and we know that. So in the survey question, we have a, hey, check. People are more likely to know who represents them. So the question actually says like, Ward 4, Megan, Councilwoman Ebert. And then there's also a section at the top of the question that says like, view the ward map to find out more if you don't know.
There is that.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
I would love to have it where you could just like select, you're like, I live around there.
Yes.
Jared Souther for the record. I like how this is somewhat grassroots opportunity. And you shared that you're offering 4 languages this year. What would be the cost to add additional languages? And as we get to know our neighbors, we are a very diverse community. We have a stronger Japanese community than we did, say, 10 years ago. There's other languages that people might be able to give their voice if they give it a chance to fill out a survey in their native tongue. Just wondering if that could be something we could consider for future and how we get to know our, as they're registered homeowners or renters, no matter what, they live here and they need to have a voice, and that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Actually, I'm proud to say we actually had no cost associated with getting the additional 3 languages translated. We have our partnership with United Way. They have a grant to do translation services that way. So if you are interacting with a community member who needs it in another language, they can reach out to us and we can have it translated while the survey is open. I will say that the reason we chose those 4 languages was based off of the city's most recent language access plan. So those are the 4 top languages in our region. Not to say that those are not those are encompassing of every language that people speak here, but those will hit us at the majority. Yeah, thank you for your feedback.
Larissa Beatty for the record. Is there how are you guys, or is there any way that you guys are getting it out to like some of the more difficult populations to reach, like the lower income? People that don't speak English, like is there a way to get the surveys out to them?
So we have a couple of different outreach methods that we're piloting with this. We are calling it our community partner network. So nonprofits and businesses and folks who might work with those harder to reach communities, we've reached out to them and said, hey, we'd really love for you to help us gather more responses. Would you be willing to be part of our community partner network? And we're getting those slowly coming in. So that's one strategy we're trying. We're also looking at ways to we're going to community events that we don't always go to, right? So the city, like I said, we do a lot of outreach all the time. We're trying new events. We're trying to see like, oh, maybe if we go to this nonprofits networking event, we can get some more there. We might not reach them. And then on top of your last question about language services, we have a partnership with many of the Spanish media in town. So we have a paid partnership with them. So we are doing some press releases, and next week we'll actually be doing a radio show with them, I believe. One of our members that's on the team, she's fully fluent and she'll do that. I will not be the one to pitch that one, unfortunately. My high school Spanish is out there. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Does anyone in the public would like to have any questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is going to be under the development projects, and it's going to be the Silver Lake to Moya gas station project.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have one more
What?
business item, B3.
Yeah, well, I totally skipped it. I don't know why I just marked it off. It's the yes, B3 advanced water, purified water. So that's from the city of Reno as well.
All right, I'm Dustin Waters, Assistant Director of Utility Services at the City of Reno. And we brought a project update on the Advanced Purified Water Project back to this group back in November. So this is a follow-up to that presentation, I believe Council Member Ebert and perhaps others in the audience were inquiring about noise impacts of the project. So this is the follow-up for that. I'm here with Truckee Meadows Water Authority. We are joint partners. This is David Deagle. He's a key member of the project on the Truckee Meadows Water Authority side. So we're partners in this project, bringing this forward. So yeah, I'm ready for the next step. So as I mentioned, this is why we're here, to kind of go into a little bit more depth on the noise impacts of the project during construction and afterwards when the facility is in operation. And this is just more details about, the project, the staff planner, the main, project manager on Tumwa's side. They're kind of leading this stage of the project. That's Angel LaCroix down at the bottom. So if you need any of this contact information, feel free to take a picture of that or come back to it.
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay.
No, that's fine. And so, yeah, again, this is kind of an overview of the project. So I'll go into that. So at the bottom there, number 1 is the Reno Stead Water Reclamation Facility. That's a City of Reno facility. Of course, it treats, the wastewater for this region, for most of the region. And then number 2 there is the site that's planned for the Advanced Purified Water Facility. So it's really just across the street from the wastewater facility. And then the long line kind of up along the west side of the airport there, that's the pipeline. So what we need to do with this project is take the effluent from the wastewater plant, treat it to A+ drinking water standards, and then it'll be sent north about 8 miles north of the airport and injected into a groundwater aquifer. And so there it'll take at least 6 months, probably years in most cases, to kind of get to the point where it's extracted for use for the potable water supply system. And so what this does is, as some of you may know, the Reno Stead Water Reclamation Facility was recently expanded from 2 million gallons per day to 4. So it was able to treat 2 million gallons per day, but we're kind of coming up on that limit as far as, capacity. So that was expanded to treat 4 million gallons per day. And so right now the effluent from that plant is discharged to Swan Lake. So what this project allows us to do is to take full advantage of that 4 million gallons per day treatment capacity. And we can still send 2 million gallons per day at Swan Lake, but we can send another 2 million gallons per day up north to the American Flat and Aquifer for storage. So that's how we kind of get the 4 in and the 4 out. So, and initially we'll be, taking a lot of that flow to the American Flat site. So that mitigates the, for stormwater mitigation at Swan Lake, kind of mitigates flooding concerns there. So there'll be quite a bit less initially going to Swan Lake. So that's a bit of the overview. I'll go ahead and turn it over to David Deagle to kind of get into more of the details about noise and other impacts during construction and after.
Thanks, Dustin. David Deagle, Engineering Manager for Truckee Meadows Water Authority, for the record. This is the American Flat treatment site. This is where we're going to treat it to A+ water. So the effluent coming out of Reno Stead, we're going to treat it to drinking water standards. And like Dustin said, pump it out to American Flat, inject it in the ground, get that environmental buffer. And then in the future, we'll have extraction wells out of there and make that connection to the Stead system for Truckee Meadows Water Authority. What slight benefits, what initial benefits you're going to see right away is we're going to be able to rest the wells in the Stead system. So the groundwater wells that already are here by the airport, we'll be able to rest those, use this water for doing that. This is a drought resistant water source for us. It will always be here. And so this is kind of the point for Tama and what we're here for. As far as the CUP, SUP process, we talked about noise as a concern, so we wanted to bring that back through. This is the site a little bit. I wanted to highlight a few things. So the residential is here. You've got Lear and military. That's the corner. This is the main building where the treatment process is. Here's the transfer pump station moving water from Stead over. And then you've got a couple tanks here. We store the effluent here, and then that's the pump station that pumps at 7 miles. If you would switch it, please. This is what the building's going to look like. You're standing a couple 100 feet down Lear, looking at the facility. This is the front. We've got a little education center in the front where we're going to ask the public to come in and school tours and that kind of thing. You get to learn a little bit about how the process works and how we're doing this technology is done elsewhere. But this is going to be new for Nevada to create this, put it in the ground and bring it into the system. The next one, this is another view looking from Horse Creek. So the residential's to the right off the screen, but that's kind of more the backside of the building. And you can see the transfer pump station there and then the storage tanks in the background. You go to the next one. So the noise mitigation strategy, as part of the environment, we have federal funding and we have a environmental study that was done. So a noise study is part of this, both during construction and after. And so I'll be going through kind of the results of that. And the acoustical study that was done demonstrated that in building operations will not exceed the allowable noise thresholds per city code. The construction noise will be addressed and addressed by the conditions of approval of hours and days allowed in construction, which was part of that environmental study. You go to the next one, please. So part of it is we put the treatment inside. There's a lot of reasons for that. It freezes and that kind of thing. Also, noise mitigation is very concerning to us. So our type of construction is we have insulated concrete panel walls. We do that for energy code reasons, but also for noise reasons. So it's quite low. We'll see in the next slide where we actually end up lower than the nighttime 49 dB, and we're also lower than the ambient noise in the area based on the study. So we have limited hours of delivery. We only plan on delivering during the day, and I'll get into that. And then that's the National Environmental Protection Act. That was the mitigation measures that is done as part of that study. And then that report is available if needed. And then the Planning Commission conditions of approval, I'll go through on the next slide. This limits us to during all operations, the truck arrival, departures, and on-site movement shall be limited to between the hours of 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. During standard operation, truck idling is prohibited on the site. Now, that doesn't mean our operators will be there 24/7, but they're just driving trucks in. And like I said, most of the work's inside. So this is more of the type of deliveries and that kind of thing. We will not be scheduling at night. The only time we'll actually have any trucks on site at night is if something was wrong and we had to fix it. This site is not critical, so I don't anticipate that actually having to be very, very rare for that to happen. The hours of construction, including grading, shall be limited between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Saturday. There shall be no construction on Sundays except limited concrete pours approved by the administrator. So this is the City of Reno code. Nighttime only allows 49 dB. The sound study shows that we're below that. The study also showed that when they were on site, they have an ambient noise of 51.6 to 56.7 in the area. So we're below the ambient that you would hear in that area. We'll get to the next slide in a minute, but the loudest piece of equipment that we have is blowers, and we use that for backwashing our filters. And it's an area, because of operators, we have to put earmuffs on because it's really loud, but we put it in its own sound room within the building. So there's 2 walls for it. And so outside, you won't hear it like we would inside, but that is the loudest piece of internal equipment. And so that was what the study showed is like the loudest part that you could hear outside, but it's still low enough to be below the standards. So if you go to the next one, please. So this is showing that, the blower room that I was just talking about, it's 275 feet away from the residence. And like I said, it's got a sound mitigation in it, and it's got the 4 walls in that room. And then you have the walls of the actual building. And we do that because you don't want to be an operator in the main building having to worry about that sound noise and being wearing earmuffs the whole time. So it's even safe enough for OSHA inside of our building because of what we did there. So would you go to the second one, please? Or the next one. We do have HVAC on the roof, and that often is a concern. We have a parapet around the whole top of the roof, about 42 inches. That's for safety for our equipment, our mechanics to be up there. but we also do that for noise mitigation. So you have the compressor unit for the air handling units up there, and you can see the distances there. That was considered as part of the sound study. And you can see there, it's a max of 44.4 at the, it should be at the property line. That slide is misrepresented. The sound study is from property line, not from your house, which is, you can see the property line is here. That's actually what that is supposed to be. It's not to your property, but you stay further away from the homes. So, you go to the next one. So construction noise, we're gonna have mitigation measures as much as we can. We don't want use of idling equipment, electric power equipment as much as possible. Noise control blankets, barriers. The hours of operations matter. It is a decent amount of construction time. We're looking at a 30-month window, so 2.5 years. So we want to be good neighbors as best as we can. Construction is just one of those things. But in that study, you can see the measures here. You know, mufflers, silencers, wraps. We are a CMAR process here, so the contractor's been involved the whole time. We have been communicating with him the whole time of what's required. And so that's probably, that's a good thing for us, is we're not low bid or anything like that. We got a contractor that's a partner and has heard all these concerns throughout the whole process. Go to the next one, please. So Dustin said, we'll leave this up for a while if you want to take a picture of it. Here's the contacts. You have the link to the Acela page for the SUP. Jeff Foster's our city planner. And then Angel's the project manager for Tumon. She runs the whole project. And she would have the most information for if you guys have further questions after the fact. Appreciate it. Open it up to questions.
Thank you. Ben Johnson, Frederick. So I do have a couple questions. So once the construction's done, you guys are, operating, you're using trucks. Are you bringing in the water through trucks? It's not being piped in?
No, the trucks that I described are for chemical delivery.
Okay.
We have a liquid oxygen that we're using for the ozone system. And we have a little bit of polymers and that kind of thing for the actual treatment process. And those deliveries are expected to be about once a month, at most twice a month, depending on how much use.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just curious, it almost sounded like, I know we were putting in piping to move, 8 miles to the north. It didn't make sense to be like, well, we're using the trucks to transfer 4 million gallons across the street. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then the last one, when I was looking at the property lines, which we don't have to go back to, it's fine, but it showed pedestrian bridges going into your property, the property that's over there. And it's obviously just being, it's just sagebrush and everything. Are those pedestrian bridges going to get removed because you guys are now using that?
No, so as part of it, landscaping is really important to us. The shared use path that goes on Lear now, we're going to reroute it and put it back in. But we're also partnering with RTC, and they're doing a shared use path along Military for the widening. So we've been working together with them to make sure that shared use path is connective. And we also put in a path that's more for dog walking, but it's more of a DG path along Horse Creek. And as part of that, we are adding this pedestrian bridge that we are taking over to the HOA that's nearby, because people walk their dogs there, and now we're giving them the ability to go over and walk around. And if you saw on the slide, we have a ton of landscape. We're trying to put a lot of trees up, and we're really investing in that. We want to shelter as much as possible and make it look pretty. And we want it to be a place that when people come to the education center, they're like, wow, this place is really nice. So that's just part of that, what we're trying to do in that community. And so that bridge actually is really dependent on whether the HOA approves it. It's in the project now because we thought it was a good partnering and want to provide them another path over Horse Creek. But ultimately, they've got to approve saying it's okay, and we're meeting with them soon.
I don't know. Dustin Waters, for the record. I don't remember the date that we're meeting with them, but yeah, like he said, it is contingent upon their approval, whether that actually gets implemented.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Kelly Orr, for the record, as a resident and in the Sky Vista HOA, that meeting is coming up. It's my concern and question is, I know the sound is different, but compared to what the sound is now, just nothing, just coyotes and wind. and maybe fences blowing down. What type of, like, what height is the trees, or what type of trees are you placing there? And then also that noise, that 40-foot, is that something that all these people's bedroom windows are now going to enjoy, like a hum, because that's what's on the back side of their fence line, that's their bedroom windows. So when they have them open at night and they're getting that little hum from either the HVAC on the roof or that big cement wall, the retainer wall that you're talking about, is that something that you guys have taken into account? Yes, you're below, but do you have a number like of who the residents call if that is bugging them, or they reach out to you, or who do they reach out to and connect with when some of those things aren't?
Yeah,
It's like a loaded question, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, and I appreciate that. 44 is really quite quiet. It's not that loud. You start getting this, like daytime, 65 decibels is where you really start hearing a lot. But I appreciate that what you hear now versus, and I know the sound study said it was 50 something ambient. Apologize, I'm not familiar enough. Angel would know this, but familiar enough if they did it at night. So that would be a good follow-up question. But I believe there's a complaint with the city of Reno if there's a noise mitigation. I don't know if you know.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Dustin Waters for the record, yeah. It'd be the Reno's main number, I think it's 336 info. Is that?
Reno Direct.
334,
Yeah.
334 info, so Reno Direct. So that, you could always call that number. As I said, it's joint project, it's joint operations. Tumwa, it will own that particular facility in the operation, so they'd be the responsible party. So, but calling either agency should get you to someone who can address the issue.
Correct.
Perfect, and that was good. My second question is following up on when it's in construction and the contractor's aware of, what's going on. Who can the residents call when they hear things or when things are going, and I know they're not calling the contractor.
David Deagle for the record. We have owner's rep. Tomo will have one of my construction engineers on site full-time, and you will have their number because you're a nearby resident. We
Yeah.
partner with you guys. You'll have that information. And they will be your contact for any concerns, especially during construction, which I see as being probably the biggest risk for noise is, contractors just doing what they're doing. And if we have to mitigate something or talk about it, that's going to be your contact.
Ben Johnson, maybe you can just give the HOA that's right there, that construction manager's contact information immediately.
We plan on it, absolutely. When we hit construction we're planning September. Obviously with federal funding and other things that are playing a role right now, that could slide a little bit, but when we get into construction, we will definitely be notifying. That's the Tomo way anyways. So we will do that because we would like you to call us first, then involve other agencies and just mitigate the problem as needed.
Yeah, Kelly, for the record, I've already noticed you out there marking things off red, orange, little things in the ground.
We're potholing right now.
Yep, it's all happening. Thank you.
No questions.
Rebecca Flannery for the record. I'm not quite sure if it's been discussed, but what is gonna be the extra fees for residents that use Tumwa to pay for this?
This is done by the Sustainability Fund. So kind of pay into, Tomo looks at long-term sustainability for living in the desert and bringing water and that kind of thing. So that's mainly by that. And then the rest of it's picked up by connection fees. So this water.
So no extra to current users?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. It's not a customer rate funded on the Tomo side for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Jared Souther for the record. You've shared that right now we have a 4 million gallon capacity for the Tumwa facility across the street. Again, help me with the water is going to come from that facility to get purified, or is that right?
Correct. So right now, Reno Stead, it's called Category A, and it's part of the NDP standards. We are treating it to Category A+, which is drinking water standards, essentially. That's a standard that California started, and it's been adopted by the state of Nevada for indirect putting it in the groundwater. The difference of this project, that's different than what they put in state law right now, is they could put it in the water, but we are, and the detention time is 6 years in the groundwater. That's how long it takes for the injection to the extraction. If we don't extract earlier, we can speed that process up. The requirement that Dustin hit up by state law is 6 months. We're in 6 years. That's the study that we've done. So that gives that environmental buffer that the state law requires, and then we'll connect, once we prove it out to the state, we'll make that final connection to the STED system. So years down the road, once we've proven the water quality and what's coming out of the ground to the state, that permit gets finalized and we start bringing that extracted water to our system.
Follow-up question is, based on the continued growth in the North Valleys in say 5 to 10 years, is there plans to increase the capacity of what happens on the existing plant from going above 4 million?
So you, on the Reno STED side, I'll let Dustin talk about that. On the Tumwa side, we've been researching more direct potable options, that's future. But we are very comfortable in the North Valleys with that Vidler water. We have plenty of water. This is our sustainability type water. We don't have to have this water to keep what we have planned in our facility plan. So what I can
Yeah, Dustin Waters for the record. So you're wondering what happens when we go over the 4 million gallons per day at the treatment plant. So yeah, as David mentioned, we are looking into hopefully establishing some regulations for another approach. This is indirect potable reuse. There's also a method of direct potable reuse so that you can, get it to drinking water standards without using the aquifer as the mechanism, as one of the processes in the treatment. So we'll see where that goes, but regardless, we do have provisions in this project to expand it to handle more than the 2 million gallons per day that it's currently in. I mean, we have pipelines and everything, so there might be some, there might be still some improvements required to get above the 4 million gallons per day, but most of the major infrastructure will be in place with this project to expand it further if needed.
My last question is, the Honey Lake project, is that still something that we're using? Like, are we still getting water from Honey Lake?
Are you referring to Vidler?
Yes.
Yes, so right now, Tumwa is using the Vidler water system. There is still 74, almost 7,500 acre feet available still at the Vidler system. So that is the supply to the North Valleys. That's why we don't have to have this water to support anything. It's literally sustainability. So that Honey Lake water is still coming down the line. It's just not all being used, but we have that system on full time.
Thank you.
I'm going to follow up. Dustin Waters for the record. I wanted to follow up on your question about rates. So you were asking about Tumwa's rates, but as far as City of Reno, I think you asked that in November also.
Did I?
And got an, yeah.
It was a long time ago.
I think you were asking about maybe the sewer rates or any rates at that time. So I just wanted to address the City of Reno on the sewer rate side. So, there's a rate sufficiency study that's undertaken every couple of years with the City of Reno for sewer rates. And so we just recently received a report from a consultant on that study. And those results will be taken to council at the first meeting in April. So I think it's April 9th. But that will be discussed then. So at that time, council will make a decision about, if a rate increase will be implemented. But just to give you a kind of a context for this project, the APWF project, Advanced Purified Water, represents about 12% of the 20 years worth of sewer project that we have in our capital improvement plan. So it's about 12% of that.
I can say that we do have a lot of population in this area that are low income. And they've already had rates, NV Energy's going way up. Our waste management just told us they're going way up. So how do you mitigate the costs to people when it's already a struggle for a lot of people out here to survive financially?
Yeah, Dustin Waters for the record. So I'm not directly involved in that sewer great study. I am somewhat involved with it, but there are plans to discuss with council, a program to help lower income individuals. I mean, you might be familiar with the sewer rebate program. So they're looking at, one of the considerations is to hopefully expand that program that we brought to council. So for consideration. So we'll see what they implement, but that is one of the recommendations to help low income individuals.
Councilman, for the record, I'm just wondering about the kind of growth in the area that the new facility can support in the future. I just have a concern that we have like the data centers coming out here, and if we can support that, or if it's going to affect, if the data centers are going to affect that water supply. If you could expand on that.
Currently, the state law doesn't allow the data centers to use reuse water. I will start there. It has been talked about. That's where the direct potable becomes a little bit more of an option. And that's being researched because they use a lot of that cooling. That would be the path that they would take. Indirect's probably not sanitary, or it doesn't have enough disinfection because we have that environmental buffer that does that. So we would have to add that piece for direct, and that's what's missing. So that is being looked at for that. Data centers are water heavy users. This is a great use of water for them rather than using potable water that we need for our homes.
What? Go ahead, Kelly, your name.
I have another question too. This is probably for whoever did the study. This being an airport, are there any fuel lines that run along and then the water line that's gonna be pumping up, pumping down?
So we're running along the west side, and
I saw on the map.
there's Termity Properties doing its thing over here, and they have like a berm that they're required to put in and that kind of thing. So we're in that corridor. We're with power. We're with, I believe, a natural gas line. I saw in there. We're not next to it by any means. We have more than our separations requirements from what's regulated. But we're in our own little corridor there with water. The potable line's even 10 foot off of the line we're running out to indirect. So we have a decent corridor here, and it's all pushed on this side of the airport.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Jared South for the record, what is the next steps for you? Is there anything approved by planning commission and city, or is there something before you shovel dirt?
I believe we have a final SUP. Is it SUP out here? I always get confused because there's both SUP and CUP, whatever that special use permit. We have our final meeting at the commission for that coming up.
Yeah. So Dustin Waters for the record. So it has the application, I think we indicated in the slides for Reno's conditional use permit has been approved. And then Washoe County has a special use permit, and they've gone through half of the process. They brought it. I'm not super familiar with their process, but it's there's one more either hearing or reading. It's going to be presented to the county one more time for hopefully approval. So we're almost through with the SUP and CUP process for each Washoe County.
We're done with Reno, right?
Done with Reno.
Yeah, apologize. I led you astray because I get too confused. Out here is Washoe. So we're still have a Washoe one, and Reno's been approved.
Awesome. Is there anyone from the community that would like to ask any questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're gonna try this again. We're gonna try, move on to the development project C1, which is for the Silver Lake Tamoya Gas Capacity Project.
Mr. Chairman and board members and members of the public, my name is Mark Sullivan. I work with NV Energy, and what we're proposing to get some comments on tonight to have you guys review is a natural gas line and gas regulator station. Excuse me. The location is at the CRSH golf course, the very north end of it. That's why we have the opening slide of the golf course. But the purpose of or the reason that we're doing it is we've had some time ago, this is a several year project, we were replacing a couple underground vaults We did one at Lemon Valley, and then we also now are doing the Stead one. The Stead site, we rebuild on that site, but that site's too small. So that's why we proposed the site that you'll see coming up in the next slides. So this is the highlighted area there is the golf course area, and you can see not very well. There's a line, actually on the next one I'll show you, but you can see the little green tip out there. That's where we're proposing to put a regulator station. There's a line that runs from the south end of that site from Silver Lake and goes north up to that side on the north end of the golf course. Can you go to the next slide for me, please? So the blue and red lines you see there are existing transmission lines or electric transmission lines. There's a substation right where the blue and the red meet. That green arrow is pointing to the site where we're proposing the regulator station. So that blue line runs all the way up. There's a system in place already for electric, and the gas is, we're just going to hook up to the existing gas lines that are in the area for the customers that are out there. The state law requires us to have a project of regional significance. If it's a gas regulator station, a substation, there's like 4 or 5 different criteria in state law. So that's why we have to apply for it. This actually happens to be in the regional plan. It's consistent with that. They have a hierarchical system in the regional plan where they ask you to locate utilities where other utilities are already located. That's the highest level that they like to get, and then all the way down to greenfield, or brownfield development. So there's an existing line there. So we're locating it where that blue line is. We're going to go along that line there for the gas line and then into the regulator station. And then we come back out, like I said, and we'll hook up with the rest of the existing systems. The next slide would show you kind of a blow up there. That green site is the size of it, or the location of it. It's 95 feet by 60 feet. So it's a little less than 7,000 square feet. And basically a regulator station is, everything's underground with the exception of what's in the regulator station. And basically the gas lines come up out of the ground and then they go into some valves and regulators. And so we can monitor pressures and those types of things. You monitor what the load is, what the usage is, as you can imagine. Peak times in the mornings when you guys get up, throw something in the washing machine or cook something on the stove, go off and go to work, come home at night, and you see that peak load come up again. So the closer that we can get these regulator stations to where people are using the gas, also we get to reduce the pressure, which you're always looking for a reduction in pressure. So these are real close to where those loads are. One of the other challenges that we have with underground vaults, the PUCN likes us to get away from using those. Those were designed that were done quite a few years ago. And they can have problems with water, infiltrating into the system and causing problems, but also you can get, if you have a gas leak, you don't know where it's going to end up. It can migrate underneath the ground, and it's really hard to track that stuff. So the overhead design is on the next slide, and that's what they like us to see. So you'll see basically these lines come in, they go through. You see these little dots; those are regulators and valves, and then it goes back out. Nothing like the last project. This is a pretty teeny project compared to what those guys are doing. And then the height, I guess the next slide will show you a profile view of the piping. The top height there is a little bit less than 4 feet. So it comes out of the ground, it's about 4 feet high. So maybe about this high, maybe this high. And then what we're proposing to do is put a chain link fence around it with slats to screen it. And we're proposing, when we went out and looked at it, when you look at the site proper, it has about 4 or 5 feet of varying sagebrush out there. So we weren't proposing to put any new landscaping in. What we've found, I've done several of these, and you put a bunch of landscaping around, like we did one out in Spanish Springs like that, and it's out in the middle of the desert. You got all this green stuff. It really draws your eye rather than blends in. And I don't know if any of you take 395 or Old Virginia Street home because of the freeway, but if you drive up there, I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but you'll see just past Talus up on the hill, you'll see one of these regulator stations, and that one's it's a little bit longer than what we're proposing, but it's a narrow one too, but they really blend in. You don't really see them that much. So like I said, it's not a very big one. It's a 6 foot high fence. That's pretty much all I have. I don't know if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Excuse me. I do not have any questions at this time. Any questions?
I have one question, Kelly, or for the record. I just wanted to look at where it's being placed, really close to residential. What are the odds, and I know this is very slim, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, just like the university that had some green glowing fire come up from their cement floor, just this week. What happens when this starts leaking or something starts happening? What are the measures put in to make sure
We shut it off.
the neighbors
Right,
aren't
yeah.
affected?
Right, well, this is designed, right, so it can aspirate up into the air and that's not gonna affect anybody, but we monitor pipe pressures. And so if something drops down like that, we shut it off and we'll go out and check it and see what's going on. And
And you can do that remotely.
we probably, yes, what the pressures are, but we probably have 25 or, well, statewide, I mean, we're a statewide company, we have hundreds of them, but we just we haven't had problems like that. And, there's standards for construction and there's a lot of different safety measures that are put in place. So we typically avoid those things. We see it coming. If you have a pressure drop, something's happening, you shut it off, you have a trouble and go out and look at it and take care of the problem.
Thank you.
No.
Nope.
Jared Souther for the record. Again, we are replacing an underground vault that's in this similar location or bringing something new to the site.
The underground vault is over on Stead Boulevard, and so it's on the other side of the highway or of the boulevard. So it's probably, it's probably, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile away. But that site's too small for us to build on. So that's why we've approached the golf course. And we're working with the golf course and with Washoe County Park. And I've met with them and everything seems like they're going to be fine with it.
So speaking of that, the line, I see on the map, the red line, right? You're going to have to go across the golf course to build on to that site, or you're just going onto that one vault site and saying, oh, here, pop up, it's done.
Yeah, there's a maintenance road there. We have an easement there already. So there's already a maintenance road. And that's like I was saying, there's already a regional corridor there that's designed to take utilities. So they'd like you to have multiple utilities in one corridor rather than having 4 or 5 corridors. So if we can do it, because there's an overhead line there, we can put the gas line underground and use that same utility corridor. In fact, they use that as a maintenance road back and forth for the golf course. So we're in talks with them about, I think we're going to end up improving that maintenance road for them so they can utilize it in the winter time. I think it's probably going to be a type 2 gravel compacted type road. So there's some gravel in it now, but I think it's going to be up.
Then once the facility's up, the transition is no impact to residents in the Silver Shores area as far as losing gas for a period of time because you need to do a turnover.
Well, that's the beauty of the valves. When you have a valve, you have the gas run to it and then you just switch it over. But there may be a short time where they have a gas outage. I mean, we do notifications all the time on that. I mean, it's the same as electric. If we're switching something over and it's not safe to switch it over while it's live, then we're going to go out and notice all the neighbors. Usually we do door hangers and let them know, hey, we're going to be in the area next week, Tuesday from 9 to noon, and you may not have electricity. So it just depends how things go.
All right, is there any other questions from the board? I think does the public have any questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
No comments on any, like the slats, any special color you'd like them to be?
Brown, probably, man.
Okay, like the tan, kind of,
Yeah.
that's what they use usually, but we have one over in Sparks that they want a green. And
Do green.
I-
Like it with brown.
I'd like to
Well-
see it painted like a golf ball. That looks fine.
like it's gonna be painted with golf balls.
Yeah, yeah.
If anybody plays golf like I do.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I
Thank
appreciate it.
Yes. We're going to the last business item, which would be C2, which is the apartments at Dandini offsite improvements.
Good evening. I'm Stacy Huggins with Wood Rogers, here tonight to present this project to you all. Next slide. I'll try to be good about asking for next slide. Sorry if I forget. Some of you might be familiar with this project area. I was here last year to talk about a project on the north side of Dandini. So for this project, we're talking about the 2 parcels on the south side of Dandini. They're outlined there in the blue. The 2 parcels combined are just shy of 40 acres in size. Next slide. I mentioned when I was here last year, this was the apartments at Dandini project. Again, that was approved by the Reno Planning Commission in September. It was a 402 apartment project. The picture on the right is the apartment project. And so I just wanted to be able to show you kind of where these sites are so that you can understand how they're connected. When we did the apartment project initially, we have to bring utilities to these projects. And one of the utilities that's needed for the apartment project was a water line. In order to meet TUMWA's requirements for water looping systems, the water line, due to pressures and topography up there, has to have a looped system. And in order to loop, it has to go south through the parcels that are the subject of this request, and then it will loop back to the west through the DRI parcel, and then up Raggio Parkway, and then back around. Next slide, please. So just to clarify, that was all reviewed and approved by TUMWA as part of the apartment project. So what we're here for today, if you don't mind just going to the next slide, I think the zoning is okay. What we're really here for, this is so tall, is just to get the water line, and I'll call the access road that goes over the water line, because there has to be access to the underground water line, approved, built, and constructed. So there are 2 parts to this entitlement. There is hillside development because the site triggers slopes over 15%, which you'll see on the next slide, and then grading related to fills that are over 10 feet in depth. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the hillside development. You can see there on the right is a slope analysis map that we conducted based on the topography of the site. The area outlined in white is the project area. It's approximately 3 acres of the 40-acre parcels. So you can see we've really done our best to limit where that parcel or where the impact is planned as a result of needing this water line here. We've tried our best to keep it out of the reds and oranges. It's a little bit difficult, but that's where it is. That white outline represents not just the water line in the road, but the grading that's necessary to build that water line. So that's the area you see there. We have avoided the steeper slopes. We have mitigated for those steep slopes. So we're meeting all the slope treatment requirements that are in Reno code as a part of this project. Next slide, please. Again, I mentioned the grading is also one of the triggers for the entitlement, and really it's the big trigger. That note on the top is incorrect. I apologize. It should say fills over 10 feet. So City of Reno code requires major or conditional use permit, or I'm sorry, conditional use permit for fills over 10 feet or cuts over 20 feet. We do not have cuts, but this site, based on the topography, does trigger the fills over 10 feet. So that area in blue there in the center of the exhibit represents the same area you saw in white on the hillside map. That represents the areas that are over 10 feet that are needed to build this water line and the maintenance road that goes with it. And I intentionally, can you go back? Thank you. I intentionally put this map up here. This is the map that's been reviewed by TUMWA. This map has been reviewed by DRI, TMCC, and INSHE. All of those groups that are owners or operators of the land to the west of our project site are very much involved in this project. We have a signed memorandum of understanding to bring the line through their property to connect in where they have planned disturbance within theirs, and then to bring the water line back up Raggio Parkway and connect it back to Dandini. That is a very high-level summary of this project. Next slide. I've provided here, so we're here tonight presenting to you. We are scheduled for Planning Commission April 16th. Jeff Foster is our planner. If you have questions, you're welcome to reach out to him. My contact information is there, and any other information, if you are interested in a copy of our application, is available through that hyperlink. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. I do not have any questions.
I do not.
No questions.
Jared Souther for the record. I took this travel path tonight because Way said, go on Sun Valley, go to Dandini. And help me understand on that path there, the land that you're putting the grades to get the water line in, is there any plan to develop on it or?
So, right now, we don't have a plan, right? I mean, I can't say that it won't happen. That piece of property, maybe you could pull up the zoning map again for me, just so I have something to look at. That piece of property is zoned mixed use suburban, so it has the potential to be developed. I think it's my second or third slide, and actually maybe you could pull up the hillside map. It might help me talk a little bit more. One more or two more? Right there. Thank you. That's perfect. So, the zoning will allow development of this parcel. I think when you look at something like the hillside analysis map there, you can see where there are some developable areas within this parcel. So I can't say with certainty that there will not be development on this parcel. It has the potential to happen. It is not part of our project at this time.
So it's a separate ownership, or do they would own that, right? To be able to do work on it?
The developers of the apartments at Dandini do not currently own this parcel. But because this water line is for their project, they're the applicant, but the owner signed an affidavit acknowledging that they know this is coming. So the owner of the property could potentially bring development on this parcel. What we're doing will not stop them from developing this parcel. In fact, the water line and the road going through it could help them ultimately, because it's going to define the access that goes out to Dandini in the future. If this parcel is ever developed in the future, it is likely that any road alignment will follow what we're bringing forward with the water line.
So, and I apologize, I'm going to deviate and ask a question. The Pyramid Highway connector that's supposed to go to Park Boulevard, is that aligned north of your project? Or is it gonna be right there?
That came up as part of the apartment project. There is some discussion, has been discussions about that alignment going north around the project. We had discussions during the special use permit for the apartment project with RTC. We've acknowledged that we understand that there's a potential for that, but our understanding, and this was confirmed by RTC, is that they have not to date gone out to acquire land for that alignment. And while it may be on their books, it's not currently something that they are holding up development to accommodate.
Any other questions for the board? Seeing none, does the public have any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna move on to item number D, or letter D. Board, commissions, committee member reports and announcements. Does anyone on the board have any announcements they'd like to make? Jared?
I saw an announcement, and it didn't come up yet, but RTC and NDOT is talking about phase 2. So it's NDOT actually, phase 2. They started on March 17th. It's going through April 17th for online study of the alignment and project for improvements to US 395. There is a public meeting taking place on April 1st at O'Brien Middle School. So I would encourage us, if we can, to be there and participate, but you can already see the presentation online. Sometimes it's being with our neighbors and getting to hear about that. Last night I had a chance to attend a meeting at Nevada Automobile Museum. Governor spoke for an hour and talked about topics that are important to us in northern Nevada, and education was one that came up. I just want to report on that.
Thank you. I think education is important to all of us very highly, right? On our minds a lot. Does anyone else have anything for the board? Seeing none. All right, we'll move down to future agenda items. Does anyone have any things they want to bring up to the board for possible agenda items, future meetings? I do not have any.
Kelly, or for the record, I would like to see, it's different now that we're not at the library, but if maybe the library could come, with maybe some senior services, things about the parks, also some more parks and recs, what's happening. That's what I would like. That's it.
Ben Johnson's record, actually, now that we passed that last law, the city of Reno or the county, had lost a lot of funding for the Reno Library. I'm curious to see after a few months how that's affected them. And so, just piggybacking on what Kelly's saying, to have the library come in and speak to that, I think the public would like to know how severely impacted they are with that. Alrighty, anyone else? Any future agenda items? Go ahead, Ernie.
Yeah, Ernie Brave. I'd like to see on Stead Boulevard where Dorothy McAllen Park is, all the improvements, the wonderful park there for the kids. I think we talked last year about getting benches in around that park. We still don't have any. Also, I'd like to see a crosswalk right in the middle across the street, especially one that has those little flashing lights, Also down at the end of the street, near Mount Anderson is a school bus or a regular city RTC bus stop.
Yes.
There's a crosswalk right there, but I'm seeing a lot of high-speed traffic still on the road. And I think we need some of those little flashing lights there also, just to make things safer.
Okay.
I did talk to Councilwoman Ebert about this. And I said, there's some things that, there's a sign right as you turn off of Lear onto Stead Boulevard. It's a small sign. It says trucks,
Yeah.
they don't care. They don't look at it. They just pump. And we're seeing lots of big trucks, heavy, coming up and down from the warehouses. So I asked her if there's anything they could do about that. She said, we can't put speed bumps or anything like that on the road.
Yeah.
Even though it says 35, people coming up from farther south, it's 45.
Yeah.
And they just don't seem to see that sign that says 35. So they're coming up the road.
I agree. I live right there. I know we talked about this before, right, Ernie? Yeah, so Parks and Rec for the park, if we can, especially the one that's up here, which is, it's Mavis Park? Do you remember the name of the park? Ernie?
Mayor's Park.
Is it Mayor's Park?
Mayor's Park is the ballpark in the back.
Oh, that's true.
Macalinda's the name of it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Dorothy and McAllen.
We worked together on this kind of stuff
Okay,
back in the 90s.
And then I guess probably more of a comment back to Megan about the speed limit signs and stuff.
Yeah, so a couple of suggestions, Jenica Finnegan, Council Relations Manager, if I may. So I'm happy to invite library staff to come. I know that one of their limitations in hosting the lab was their limitations on staffing, and so for them to attend a later meeting might also conflict, so I just wanted to preface that. But I will absolutely reach out to them to see if they're available. I also wanted to flag the Senior Citizen Access Advisory Committee that the City of Reno hosts. So that might be a great way to get more familiar with some of the activities that are available to seniors. And I know Councilmember Ebert is also the council liaison to that committee as well. For Parks and Rec, I know exactly what you're talking about, the benches at Dorothy McAlinden Park. So I can get an update from our Parks Department on that. Due to our budget issues and staffing limitations as well, it is difficult to pull staff from the Reno, from the city for these outside business hour meetings, but I can absolutely get an update there for you. And then for the crosswalk and flashing light and high speed that you've noticed, that sounds like a great Reno Direct submission. And so I'm happy to help you submit those and make sure that you have an account so we can route those through our traffic engineering department. And they can do some speed studies and analyze whether it's appropriate or not to implement a crosswalk and see what our capacity is for flashing signs.
I think they're at least $10,000 a piece.
They are quite extensive. I can confirm that.
I will say that on the way out here,
Stay
somebody
here.
did get pulled over on Stead Boulevard, so I feel like maybe the police presence might be picking up a little bit out here.
And you are.
Rebecca Flannery for the record. And, when I had the discussion with Megan, with Miss Ebert, she did say that there's some talks about, because the semis are out here, there's so many now, and they're destroying our roads, to see about maybe just doing like specifically, like, this is your truck route. You can't be on these roads, like you have to go this way.
Yeah.
So I know that's something that she's looking into currently.
Yeah, I know, one of the things that always gets me, I don't know if you've ever been to the Costco parking lot out in Sparks. They paint these wide yellow lines. I slow down every time because I think it's a bump. And if they did nothing more than paint a 3-foot wide yellow line just across the street at the beginning and past the park, that might have a good impact on people that are speeding up and down here.
Is there any other things we want to bring?
Jared Souther for the record, I actually would love to have a discussion in our neighborhood advisory board about what the city is facing with budget anticipated loss, because that's been a big topic in the news where City of Sparks and City of Reno are saying, we're not gonna get enough taxes, we don't have money. I'd like to understand where that's coming from and how that impacts services and the budgets in the upcoming years.
Absolutely. So what I would say is that we had our first budget workshop on March 5th. So that was when our finance department went to council and presented, here's the lay of the land. So that is available if you go to reno.gov/meetings, if you were interested in reviewing that. A lot of great information to set the tone for budget season. And then our next budget workshop is on
I know you're looking up the date for the next budget workshop, but maybe you can relay to Megan that she can, on her report that she gives us when she's here, to maybe talk about that in some fashion.
Yeah.
I think that would help us too.
I'll get the date, I'll include it in my follow-up to y'all tomorrow.
I will also say, I have seen other wards doing quarterly updates. I haven't seen one yet for our ward. Just wondering if that's something that's still in planning for like their quarterly email distribution from other.
Yes. We had sent Councilmember Ebert some information about that, and we're just waiting for her approval to send it out. So we're happy to get that out when we get her approval.
As we go into summer months, we're pushing into spring, I'm already talking about summer, but do we have any Ward 4 community plans? I saw where they're doing an emergency preparedness fair in the south in Demonte Ranch. Could we do something in the North Valleys and bring our community together to do emergency preparedness or something else that would bring families and build community?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. So the emergency preparedness open house is sponsored by Councilmember Anderson. So that will be happening at Demonte Ranch in next April 5th, Saturday. And that'll be in the morning. All wards are invited and welcome. There'll be some great information shared at that. That is funded by her council discretionary funds. And so again, things like that we have to find the dollars to support them. So I'm absolutely happy to give your feedback to Councilmember Ebert to see where the interest lies in doing something like that up here.
Any other ones?
Where's the meeting for the record? And some of you might be able to answer this actually, but piggybacking on the Parks and Rec stuff. I know they might not be able to come to the meeting, you said, but if we could get information, like, do we have any adaptive parks in the city? Can you tell me where?
There's one down south, it's like, I think it's on Veterans. And the city has a lot of like adaptive equipment as well, like an adaptive wheelchair and things like that. There's also, I think it's called Adaptive Tahoe. I can
But I'm thinking like parks
Oh, yeah.
actually with the adapt, is it only on veterans? Was there any others?
So that's with like, walking and stuff. I think that the one at, the marina is adapted, doesn't it have like options in there?
Okay.
And so there's a few. And so, but I can get your email and send it from just.
I would say that the parts that they're doing, Ben Johnson's a record, because I haven't been saying very much tonight. The parks that they're, redoing, they actually are adding some of that stuff. The one that's right up here on Stead, like they have a merry-go-round, right? But it's literally, you can use a wheelchair to get into it. They have, it's not a swing, it's like a little ride, right? That actually locks you in.
Call it an avocado.
Okay, so I think, they're starting to become more understanding of that. So every time they're making and redoing these parks, they're actually adding some of those to it. So, which is awesome, right? We all like to really see like.
So I just wondered if they had, plans for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
More in the works, because it's pretty.
I'm sorry, Ernie Murray for the record. I have one more comment.
Okay.
This is a dog-friendly community up here. And one of the things that we don't have is a good dog park. The closest dog park around here belongs to the Sky Vista Homeowners Association, and it's on Sky Vista, I think it's Sky Vista Boulevard. Near Paradise Lane or Paradise Canyon. I can't remember that cross street, but anyway. When the HOA built the park, they have two sides. They have a small side for people who want to keep their dogs that are not dog friendly with other dogs. So it's a small use park. And then the other side is huge. And they're every day from 2 to 4. I have a dog that just loves to go play. And if I don't, I pay for it all night long. But anyway, when you're on the street there, they have a parking lot area that's right in front of the dog park. Yet, when the city built the streets there, they didn't put an apron in, so you could turn in to the parking lot. You literally gotta have like, a brave driver or a 4-wheel drive to get up over the curb there. And if we can get the city to just, do that simple thing, put an apron in there wide enough for vehicles to get in and out. I know the president of the HOA there, she said they're gonna pave that entire parking lot. So that would make it a little bit more accessible to everybody instead of parking on the street. It's not always easy, you have to walk. There's a lot of cars in the walk.
So,
That's all.
thank you, Marie. We do this section is for future agenda items, right? So nothing against making public comment. I think it's really good. So before we get to that, does anyone have any future agenda items before we get to public comment? None. Cool. All right. I think we're good there. Now we'll move on to S, the public comment. Do we have any submissions for public comment?
I don't have any submissions. Let me check Zoom to make sure that hand is raised, seeing none, Mr. Chair, but public comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the NAB agenda. So thank you, Mr. Chair. The NAB may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. When you are called for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and will be for 3 minutes. If you are an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand at this time. And I'll just give them a second. Anyone in the public? Nothing?
None?
Okay.
Yes, so is anyone on the board can use their public time if they'd like to say something, but if there is any or no? None? Okay, I think we're good for public comment. Unless you four would like to say anything?
Would just like to take a picture of you guys, if that would be okay.
Sure.
For you and R.
I was thinking, oh my gosh, look at these young people over here. I love this.
Well, let's we'll adjourn here in a second and then we can do that, okay?
Share about your project. We'd love to.
Yes.
Open public comment.
Project.
We're students at UNR, we're in communications class, so we're just listening and observing how you guys communicate and your communication styles towards you guys each other. Yes, and we have to do a presentation based on how this meeting is adjourned and like how you guys work and communicate effectively.
Can you say your name for the record?
Yes.
What's that, Marlo?
Raffia.
Parola.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
All right. All right, we're gonna go to adjournment. Can I, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
John White moves adjourned.
Do I have a second?
Kelly Orr, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Yeah.
You guys, this is so cute. Even if I'm
I
ever
voted for
not.
Don't understand. One mouthful.